Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me, as always, is the lunging lady of Labor Day, Bethany McChesney. And this episode is brought to you by Duonamic, creator and inventor of amazing workout stuff and door frame pull-up systems that I can't pronounce. So we're going to have like a very Deka-centric episode / many interviews. Like we're going to throw a bunch of interviews at you, not all in this episode. We'll split them up so that you can break it up a little, make it easier. But we want to go through something first right away. And Beth, I'll just let you go through it because it's a little more serious and definitely something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, so over the weekend, it had come across my news feed that a lady had went missing. She had during her morning run on Friday morning, and they had yet to locate her. But today the news came out that she was found, and she was murdered. So her name is Elise Fletcher. And it really, I think it was in Maine. I'm now forgetting the state in the US. And it just, when the news came out, I just hoped and prayed that she was okay. But usually when someone's missing that long, they aren't. But then when it came out that she was murdered and then more information about her, she's an elementary school teacher. She has 2 boys, a husband, and she was out running around 4:30 in the morning. And just she was thrown into the passenger side of a vehicle. And it hit too close to home because, again, the situation where completely unprovoked and this tragedy happens to her. And the frustrating thing then became to me was these questions, because they posted some pictures too of what she was wearing. People would be like, why would you run in a sports bra and little shorts? You're basically running in a bikini. Or why would she be wearing headphones? Or why run at such a ridiculous hour of the morning? And again, it's like, well, nothing of that is any problem at all. It shouldn't be a problem. Why are those the questions that people are asking? Again, you're saying this is her fault because she chose to run in a pink sports bra and shorts, and because she chose to listen to music or run at a time that worked for her because she's a mom and she's working. And all of these things I've done, and I run at that time in the morning. And so again, and I think every female runner, it struck them, because I don't know a female runner who doesn't run in fear at some point, whether it's early in the morning. And I have a really hard time running early in the morning ever since something happened in Dubai. And even now I can't run with headphones. And I've run with males too sometimes who I'm particularly jumpy, and they'll make fun of me. And I'm like, have you ever run and you're on edge? And a lot of them have no idea what that feels like, or they've never questioned their safety. And it's a big deal for me. Or if I'm running alone and if it's winter, I always wear a toque and I ball my hair up so you can't see my hair. So these things, and again, men have never had to think about this, hiding something about them so that they don't look like their gender. And it's just for women, it's something that we think about all the time when we run. And I've been fortunate that I've had a lot of running partners, so I don't have to run on my own. But again, when I lived in Dubai, I ran at 4:30 in the morning every day. I was teaching. If you ran in when the sun was up, you would likely end up with heat stroke, which I did once, and I made that mistake. So I'd run at 4:30. I'd do the exact same out and back so that my husband would always know where I was. And it was dark. And again, when I lived there too, I would run along a road where it was a lot of the labor camps would be driven out to back. They would be driven into the city, and they'd be full of worker men, and they would hang out the side of the bus and they'd take pictures of me while I was running. And it's extremely uncomfortable. And there was times when I was scared quite often. And again, women were somewhat treated differently too. And then when I came back, it was a week or two after I came back that another female runner, around that exact same time in the morning on that exact same route that I ran, was found, and she had been raped in the ditch, right exactly where I ran every single morning. And it hit me so heavy again that that could have been me. And if I had happened to be still running there, that like, and again, and I think that struck me probably one of the hardest moments in my running life, because it's just by luck that that wasn't me. And so I think after that too, I've had a hard time running early in the morning. And and I remember too, when I was in university, this was probably the first time it really struck me. I used to run early in the morning to get in extra mileage. And I remember once my coach saw me out, and she grabbed me at practice and she was like, "Don't ever run at that time in the morning." And it was probably 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And I was like, "Why? I don't understand." And she was like, "That's when things happen, Beth." And again, I had never really thought about it. And I was probably 19 at the time, and still innocent and naive about this. And then after that, I'd always think about it, and I'd always try to avoid those hours of the morning. But again, it's the issue is that women have to think about this. But then when something happens to them, it's still their fault. And those are still the questions that are asked. And I think that's the most frustrating part to me, is the victim blaming.
There's so many things to address in there that it's hard to even know where to start. And you're right, it's something that a lot of guys, myself included, we don't think about. It's a case of privilege, for no other sense of the word, that
Mhm.
it doesn't even enter, and it doesn't enter our minds. Like I can go run or work out anywhere I want at any time, because nobody wants to abduct me, which is, it's a little tough on the ego, but anyway. But what I'm saying is, yeah, it's a privilege, and it's something that is bullshit,
Mhm.
because, like you said, nobody should have to do that. Nobody should have to go through the spot of fearing to go for a run. And I think this is something that as soon as you saw this, and I saw you posted the story, I thought we needed to talk about, because it probably resonates with 99% of the women that listen to us,
Mhm.
because that's what they do. They run in, and they run in, sports bra, short shorts. I'm sorry, this is athletic attire. Watch CrossFit, watch the Olympics. This is what people run in. There's a reason for it. It's good stuff to run it. It makes sense. You put
Right.
headphones on because it's music, because, well, I don't know if people like this, but running's boring as hell. But anyway, but I'm saying, like, this shouldn't cause issue. This shouldn't cause controversy. Nobody should have to, think about, what do I need to put on this morning to be safe? It should be, what do I need to put on this morning to not get run over by a car? What do I need to put on this morning to stay warm, to be at the correct climate? Not, what do I need to put on this morning because I don't want to arouse some construction worker. And I am a construction worker, so
Mhm. Mhm.
it-
Can I butt in?
yes.
Okay. My wearing a sports bra and short shorts isn't what causes a rapist to decide to rape somebody. It's what's in his head.
It's
Right.
absolutely true.
It's that the perpetuating idea that women are asking for it because of what they wear. And it's maddening. So again, if I'm going out and I wear a skirt, that means I'm asking for something. So then my word doesn't mean anything because of what I've chosen to wear.
Yeah.
It's the exact same idea. You're right, Riley.
Yeah, and it's the deal where, either way, the clothing is a completely separate thing. My thing with the clothing is people blaming her for wearing that. And one, I think Riley's exactly right, that that had no cause effect towards what happened. I
Mhm.
don't think that mattered in the least. She could have been wearing a dry robe and snow pants, right?
Mhm.
That doesn't matter. But the people blaming her for wearing that, that's where that problem lies.
Right. And I think I don't know what to do about the bigger issues of what he did. But I think what people can do now is stop blaming the victim.
Yeah.
Because, and actually, in this situation, this man spent 20 years in prison for abducting a male. So it had nothing to do with what she was wearing.
Yeah, it got, and I think that guys, and I mean, I'm no expert, but I think that the clinical stuff for that, guys like that, it's a power thing. It's a show of dominance and a show of power. So like you say, it doesn't matter what she's wearing. It's the fact that they're going to show they have power, they have dominance, they have control of situations, and that's why they do these things, or such is my understanding from television. So,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that, yeah, I don't think what she wore had anything to do with it, which means obviously you can't blame her for wearing it because it put nothing towards the situation.
Yeah, or for running at that time. So again, if we can change the way that we think about the situation, then maybe in the future a male might not. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even say, but someone might not think, she's wearing this, she's running at that time, she's not prepared. Whatever, she's running alone. She's putting herself in a vulnerable situation on purpose. So we have to change the way that we think about these situations, men and women, because I've heard women say the same thing. Well, why was she running at that time? Well, she had to run at that time.
Yeah, like again, you said it earlier. She's working, she has children, she has jobs. I mean, I work out at 4 a.m. I might not always go running, but I work out at 4 a.m. because that's the
Yeah.
only time you can guarantee you can get, because
So
of life
imagine you had
happens.
to go, you didn't have a gym in your garage and you had to go to the gym. And someone commented too on my ranting post today, and she said, I feel fear sometimes leaving the gym at night when it's dark.
Yeah.
So imagine that you worked out at 4 a.m. and you had to go in the gym. And I open my gym early in the morning and it's dark. And there's some mornings where I sit in my car until the first client shows up to go in, because we're in kind of this area and there's been people that have been caught sleeping in the entrance and stuff. So I won't go in. And again, it's a fear then that I don't think males necessarily have to deal with all the time. So,
No.
and I'm in somewhere that it's still a fairly protected area.
And you're right. Like I can't speak for males, all of them, most of them though, because I have that authority. But it's just, we don't click in. I don't click in. I'll know, like, if I'm in a sketchy part of the city, I know, okay, this is somewhere to be on guard, to avoid, to not be a part of, right? But I don't think in my quiet little neighborhood, I don't feel fear. Right. It doesn't happen to me. And I think a lot of guys, like I said, we're oblivious and don't get it. It doesn't even occur. Oh, this is an issue. Oh, this is happening. We don't know. And that's why this stuff needs to be talked about, because it needs to be brought to attention to people that this stuff does happen. We need to be aware. We need to help be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and to address and to help other guys and the sons we raise and stuff to realize that, well, I mean, this case of scenario, I mean, whatever possesses someone to abduct and kill somebody, I think that's far beyond anything, maybe a little better parenting can do. But, we have to raise our kids to know that, just because, and it just, man, it sounds silly, just how to treat people, not just women, but how to treat people in general, and that people have rights and are,
Yeah.
Even when you talk about the construction workers leaning out of the bus or the van or the train or whatever, like that hits home with me, because I've seen that. I've been around that. I'm like, I've seen guys say stuff, and I'm like, guys, you guys are fucking morons. Shut up. Like,
And this was Dubai too, so I was wearing a lot more clothing
Yeah.
because it was the law, than I would ever wear here when it's 40 degrees out.
Yeah. And I've like I said, I've talked to these guys before, and I'm like, I've heard them catcall women on the street and stuff from construction sites. I don't know why that's part of the culture or whatever. I'm like, what is your goal here? What are you hoping to accomplish? Do you think she's going to go,
Right.
that guy's whistle is fantastic? Like,
Right.
I have no idea what the accomplishment is, but they're
Yeah.
accomplished. So anyway, that's just one issue. The blaming of the victim, which we see that everywhere for everything. It's like, oh, this person was murdered for walking down the street at night. Well, they coming home from the variety store because they needed milk.
Yeah.
And then, well, they shouldn't have gone to the store. Well, why shouldn't they be able to go to the store? Like, that should be, it shouldn't be a thought. It shouldn't have to be in the civilization we're in. But apparently it is. And like I said, we see, so you pegged it with the morning. That's when you have to do it. So when you have to work out to have the time. And it's a shame that people nowadays still don't get it. They still don't understand that.
Well, and things take time, and I think people have to be made aware of what their mind kind of goes to in these situations, because we don't always evaluate our thoughts in these situations. So sometimes it's just an awareness. And one of the other frustrations for me, and I think one of the tragedies of this too, is that now women are going to think twice about running. And if they don't have a treadmill, now they're stopping themselves from doing something that makes them better. And maybe it's for their mental health. And so again, it's something that and when I was chatting about it today in the gym also tonight, and one of the girls said, well, that's why I don't run. And I'm like, and that's the problem too. So now, once again, women are being held back from doing something that makes them a better person because, and, I have had people reach out to me and say, well, I'll bike with you if it's ever early in the morning and you're scared. Like, so I think women coming together and helping each other also in these situations, because I don't think the solution for women is also to start running around by themselves. And like, it's still a problem. So maybe just, again, women supporting each other and men supporting the women too, and being like, hey, like, if you're scared, that's valid, because I've also been made to feel stupid for being scared, and to just validate that that's legitimate for them, and maybe jump on a bike and support them, because it would probably help them feel a lot better. And then if that helps them get their run in, then that's even a bonus for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to teach self-defense courses and stuff like that and help with that, and that is something that you say all the time, roll in packs, usually it's more, we're talking about like going to nightclubs and stuff, right? Stay in packs, make sure you're not alone, be smart, da, 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 da. But at the same time, where we taught that, and that's great, and that's good that women do these things, and even men, or whatever the situation, that people do these to protect themselves. The crying shame is that that's necessary.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be, right? But sadly it is. So,
and I've done that too. I've taken self-defense classes, and again, just to feel a little bit more safe in certain situations.
Yeah. I don't know, that the thing about it though, you there's a problem, you identify the problem, but what do you do, and how do you make it better? And right now, the best advice we can give to anyone out there is, be safe, and for God's sakes, don't give up running, but run with a partner, run with a friend, do something like that. Be safe, be smart. Even though you shouldn't have to, unfortunately, that is the time we live in. And until people get it through their skulls and fix things up. And you said this guy was in jail before?
Yeah, some more stuff has been coming out. And it said he apparently spent 20 years in jail already.
Clearly wasn't enough.
For this exact thing. Yeah, we'll learn more, and they haven't released very much information about exactly what happened or anything, but yeah, there's been more coming out about him.
Wow. Well, I mean, we'll follow it, we'll keep on top, and we'll keep watching. But yeah, for everybody out there, read about it, look into it, and remember, maybe if you have a friend who's scared to run and stuff like that, and go with them, help them out, let them get
exactly. Yeah. And condolences to this woman's kids.
Yeah.
And I can't talk about, I'm gonna cry again, but again, like but yeah, like, again, it's it's a mom, and she has a partner, and again, just so tragic.
Yeah. It's sad to see. It's tough. It's almost difficult to move on from Joy,
well, it's my fault, because now I got emotional, and I was gonna not get emotional, but
we do sports stuff. Well, it is related, obviously. It's very akin to what we do and the lifestyle we lead. And it hits home, like you said, it's rough, but we will stay with it.
And it's a reality of sport too, right? Not all of it is like, podiums and lighthearted chats around after races and stuff. It's a reality of it. So
yeah, we look forward to the episodes where we can go back and talk about steroids.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Give it a shake. A little G-toss with the hands and all that stuff. and move on. Last weekend was the highly anticipated Deka West Palm
Mhm.
with what would undoubtedly be the deepest fields for both men and women. Huge storylines. Rylan Shadegg making his debut, Lauren Weeks making her debut,
Mhm.
like just tons of top flight athletes coming in trying to get those last qualifying spots for Atlantic City. Did you get to watch any of the stream whatsoever?
I watched the Instagram stories. I didn't see the live feed. So I felt like I got a fair bit of an idea of how the races went, but I didn't see the live feeds.
Which is because the live feed should be done on YouTube and probably by me. Anyway, moving right along.
Just have to slide that in there, but
You know what? Honestly, no, I am going to say this. The woman, Tamara, is VJ's girlfriend's mom. She did the video for the live feed, and she did as good a job that could have been asked. I was, she did good with the camera. Obviously, she didn't have the commentary to it, and so I'm just speaking out. Like, she didn't have the commentary to it, and that's to be expected. I mean, she was kind of thrown into the fire, and I think did as good a job as she possibly could have. So hats off to her, and good to do. I tried my best to get out there. It just wasn't going to happen, but I will be in Atlantic City and I will be streaming definitely the pro waves and obviously as much of everything else as I can. So with that, yeah. So what did you gather from the race then? You said you got a good gist of what happened.
yeah, so the men's race, it looked like Rylan took it out and Ryan was with him. And then there was a really awesome tight pack behind with David and VJ and Dylan and Rich Ryan. And like there was just so many people there, but it looked like Rylan kind of took it out from the beginning and Ryan was right with him.
Rylan he went out hot. I think, and at the end, I don't know if he faded a little at the end or if Kent made a big move. Maybe we'll find that out later on. But definitely he closed. I think at the end it ended up being about a 3 burpee win for Rylan. Like that's always he was 3 burpees ahead. So it was very tight. And then you're right, the chase pack. I mean, any of those guys on any given night could have been third. And it just, it just was a matter of how that shook out. I think, and we talked about those, I think Rich Ryan, and from talking with him a little bit, so I guess I kind of know, not think, he went there to win, right? So his plan was not, let's put in a good effort and see where I end up. It was let's go for the win. So he probably went out a little too hot and ended up fading at the end. So I expect him to be more of a threat at Atlantic City. And then the other guys just they pushed and pushed and pushed. It was just a great race. Yeah. So then the women, what do you think about the women's side?
So I saw less of the women, but again, Lauren took it out, which and then we had Vivian, who was right on their heels. And again, those machines, she is just amazing on. So she would make up time with those ones. And then it seemed to me like Tara kind of came in at the end and swooped into that 3rd place position because I didn't really see her in the mix in some of the stations before that. So I'm not sure where things kind of turned around for her. But again, it was a super tight race with her and Vivian at the very end.
Well, Tara actually ended up getting the 2nd place. So Tara came up in the 2nd place. And then Bridget at the last minute snuck by Vivian. I don't even think Vivian saw her there. I think Vivian and Tara were going head to head on the burpees. And then Vivian saw Tara pass her. And I think at that point, Vivian maybe let off the gas a little bit and didn't realize Bridget was on the other side just hauling ass and might have snuck in behind her and just stole that last podium place.
So it was interesting to me too, because Tara was doing a step up with her burpees, which looked slower to me.
Yeah. But at that time, I think Vivian really sold out on the bike.
Oh.
And I think that caused her to gas a bit. Like she put in a really good bike, and I think that cost her. So even with Tara step up, which Tara admits were not the best burpees, and burpees are not her strongest suit, she was still able to maintain and pull away and get the 2nd place there. So I think, Vivian, I think was just like that like 2% more cardio or maybe 2% less on that bike to maybe hold on. So, but it was just a great race. And it was one of those few times where all the hype was lived up to.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
It was tight. Both races were so tight.
yeah. And like I said, we're gonna talk to a lot of people about it, and you're gonna hear a lot of different perspectives
Mhm.
between the whatever 6 decade interviews we have this week. So
And we had records on both sides, right? Men and women.
crazy records. Like
Yeah.
4 women broke the record that it stood for a year. Were the rest of you just waiting?
Well, it goes to show you though, having people in the race and around you, like you rise to the occasion. So when you're pushed, you can get that little bit more.
I will honestly say it was to the point where I was wondering if maybe there was a miscalculation on the measuring of the course. Just
Oh,
'cause
really?
there was so many records falling, right? And I was like, what
Huh.
the hell? Like just everything
Mm.
they're dropping like flies. I think like I said, the fourth place man beat the record. Dylan came in and got like a 30-30, which would have put him second place before this race. And he ends up like 8th.
Mhm.
It's insane. So yeah, I did question it, and you will see that I do ask some of the people about it, and they say no, it was legit. The course was the same distance. It's just it was such high level of competition that they all just brought it out.
Okay, I know the difference. They took the pole out of the ball over the bar. So they didn't have to skirt around that little extra nub.
I agree. That was what
Do
it
you know what I'm
was.
talking about?
Yes, I do.
That was the difference. Yeah.
That was it. And the fact they couldn't do rotating lunges, they just were all upset about that, and it made him go faster.
Yeah.
The rotating lunges were slowing people down.
And they had to go directly over the box.
Directly over the box. Yes, that was. You know what? I will say I did see, and I think it was actually Rylan, the first couple where he was a little off to the side, and the judge was like, no, the judge corrected him and made him get on there.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, whether it was no rep or not, I'm not sure. And I think I heard Jack Bauer had a ton of no reps, and for lunges
On
and
what?
lunges, and I the only thing that I heard, and this is secondhand information, but was that he wasn't even sure why they were no repped, and that may be so. If you are judging and you do no rep someone, make sure you let them know why they're being no reps so they can rectify it on the next rep. So
yeah.
Anyway, we've got to get to our first interview of many. There'll probably be 2 on this episode and maybe a couple more on a couple of other episodes. So without further ado, we will get to our guest, and I haven't even decided which one's going to be next. So here we go.
Let's go, man.
All right. So my wife always tells me that apparently we only interview people who come second place. And for some reason we got stuck with that. I thought for sure we'd be safe this time, Ryan. What the hell happened?
I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I think I got beat by a fitter man. Someone who's, pretty much a younger version of myself. So this old guy was just trying to keep up as long as he could, and just got beat by a better guy. And I'm looking forward to the rematch for sure.
So going into the race, how are you feeling going into the race, like in your prep and everything? Because this thing had a lot of hype, right? Like for a qualification race and everything going in, it had, for some reason, it just built, and I guess a lot of people looking for that last qualifying spot, and it ended up drawing this incredible field of wicked athletes. So how are you feeling going into it?
Going into it, I was very confident. Training had been going really well. Between Chicago and I knew I was going to get better. That's the one thing. Like I knew I could go so much faster than I'd already gone, simply based off the fact that I hadn't been doing a ton of run training and I hadn't been pushed. So I knew that I was able to go faster. But after Chicago, I really kind of ramped up like my run volume and was doing more speed work. And, I did a couple like Deka strong simulations in my training just to make sure my power was staying up, doing things without any running. And that was still staying. Like I did a Deka strong in my garage about 10 days before West Palm, and I went 11:42. So I knew, I was like, dang, dude, my zone fitness is on point right now. My running's on point. Yeah. So like obviously confidence was super high. And yeah, and got there, and all the guys, everyone who's anyone, was at this race. We've had, previous champions, previous record holders, and finally we all got them together in one arena. And I was looking forward to racing Ryland simply because he broke my Deka mile record, a few weeks back. And to be honest, I was a little skeptical of it. Like I knew Ryland yeah, I knew Ryland was very fit. He's proven in Spartan race that, he's the real deal. But there was still something about me that I was like, there's no way. There's no way he did that. So, I was licking my chops at a chance to race him. And, we finally made it happen. And I don't think the gap ever got more in that race. I don't think the gap ever got more than like 12 seconds. And it was a good race from start to finish. And like I said, I felt really confident and strong going into it. And I'm more than happy with my results.
So before we go on too far, I want to talk about, you were skeptical because I was skeptical. I think Beth and I even talked about it before where
we did.
Where we were both like, one, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When he set that record, it wasn't during an actual event.
No.
And so in my mind, and we said this on one of our episodes, I don't think that counts. Because to me, that's practice. That's no different than you setting it in the garage if you had some affiliate owner there keeping score.
Right.
So I don't think that should count. It's nothing.
It's
to
like
take away
track
from it.
world records aren't like a time trial you did in your workout. They happen at a race.
Yeah. So
I agree.
So
that's why I was. Yeah, I mean, Yancey was like, yeah, I was like, was there even an event this weekend? Because people were hitting me up and saying like, yo, do you see what Ryland just did? And I was like, no. Like, dude, he just went like 17:04 in a Deka mile. And I like checked on the website on like where he could have done it, and I didn't see any location. So I reached out to Yancey and I was like, was there a Deka mile like in Utah or something today? And he said no. I guess the gym, accommodated his record attempt, and they set it up for him, and he was the only one there. And I think that's something Yancey he's not going to do in 2023. So I think he realizes that that's probably not, the fairest way to go about it. So, hats off to him. He honestly, I'm not mad. So it is what it is.
No, and it's not a knock against Ryland. It's not a knock against his performance. It's a knock against the system in my mind, whereas just it's not a fair advantage. For example, let's just say all of a sudden he's peaked his training and then he can just walk in on that right day, boom, 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 clear as a bell, run whatever time you can, there's no get warm up and hope for the, everything is totally on your schedule. And to do it at an event, life doesn't work that way, right? You don't get the perfect surroundings, and everybody doesn't get that same advantage to do that. So that's why I don't like that. But it's not taking away from what he did was amazing. What he did was great. I don't, I hear maybe the 160 wasn't laid out right. Maybe this wasn't right. Maybe that wasn't right. It's none of that for me. I mean, that is all possibilities, but it's none of that. It's just to be able to set the record and have it count at what to me amounts to a high-end practice.
Even things like people getting in your way, or like having to pick your stations, like running around people, like all those things don't come into it too. Or your box is a narrow, like all the different things we've talked about, it adds to it too.
That's a good point. I think too, like you mentioned the box jumps right there. Like I noticed the one that he was jumping on was about that wide.
Yeah.
Whereas like in a Deka Fit, they're 4 times as long. So maybe there needs to be amongst the gyms, they need to purchase, the right dimension box.
Yeah.
That way everyone's just doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I get where that's hard for the gyms too, because they're already shelling out a lot of money for tanks and ski ergs and rowers and stuff. It's a lot of kit to outfit. So,
But if you're going to have a record set
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's where I sit by that with that.
Yeah.
So back to the race going in. So you knew Rylan was going to be there. You knew Rylan was going to be threat, but you also had Rich Ryan, you had Dylan Scott, you had David Magida, and David Magida especially. David Magida was probably, to me, one of the real wild cards because he's coming off injury. We didn't really know what kind of shape he was in. Is he in great shape? Is he not in great shape? Did anybody else kind of give you that thought process of, okay, this is somebody in the back of my head I need to watch too?
I mean, not really, honestly.
Good stuff.
I love David. I love David, but I had heard through word of mouth that his training hasn't been what he would like, and he was coming in. I mean, he proved that he is fit right now. I'm sure he's capable of something faster, and it's no disrespect to the other guys that are competing, but I've beaten all of them by over a minute in every race that I've done without pushing myself. So I don't know. To me, in my mind, it was me versus Rylan the whole time. Eventually the cream would rise to the top, and at some point it would just be me and him. And that's pretty much what happened. But like I said, I take nothing away from Rich and David and Nick. Those guys are going to be hunting for Rylan and I. But for this particular race, I just felt like it was a one-on-one match, and the rest of the guys were just kind of there, like in the race. But the battle was between Rylan and myself.
Going forward, and this is what I think actually, in a way, this might be good for you, because this is that wake up.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I beat Hunter at the North American Championships. And then what did he turn around and do?
Yeah.
He mopped the floor with me. He mopped the floor with me at the World Championships. So yeah, I mean, everybody needs to lose, right? At some point. It never feels good. But I will say the cool thing about hybrid racing, especially Deka Fit, because it's more consistent than High Rocks in terms of just how the layout is. You're able to really, like, if you have a good time, like, you can be like, man, I had a really good race, even though I finished second place. Whereas like in a Spartan race, you can't really compare venue to venue or, 1 year to the next. But in Deka Fit in particular, like, I can look at my time and say, man, 28:38, like, holy crap, that's so fast. Like, it's such a bummer that I didn't win, but that's a really good time, and I'm like proud of that time. And yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the big reasons why I do like the hybrid racing, is how you can just, if you've had a good race. It doesn't matter if you finish first or sixth. You can just look at your time and know if you've had a good race.
Well, and you talk about the cream rising to the top, and it's almost like the rising tide raises all boats, because how many of you guys broke the record? Like,
right. Right. I mean, 2 guys and four girls.
Yeah.
And still, there's only, look, let me point this out. I think this is pretty cool. Rylan and I have now broken 29.
Yeah.
And the other guys are still trying to break 30.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty unique. Like, I know DJ was pretty upset. He wanted to break that 30-minute mark, and I think he was like 4 seconds off. But yeah, it'll be, yeah.
And VJ put in a great run, like, because you often think of this as kind of a secondary thing for VJ, right? Where his focus is probably mostly on the North American Elite Series. Hopefully I got that right. But yeah, that's probably his primary focus. And to come back in and really look that solid, I mean, that's a testament to his condition.
I do know VJ had been putting in a pretty good, he may say he wasn't, but he hit me up to meet up for some workouts. So he was putting in some Deka specific work going into that race. And I think one thing we did learn from that event is it really does it's going to favor a slimmer runner. Guys like David, Magida, Rich, now he's gotten his body weight up a little bit, and myself, we're carrying High Rocks weight. We're at High Rocks fighting weight. I think Rylan is the perfect kind of body type for a Deka Fit, and even VJ really. Nick Riker. So I mean, if you are someone like myself, I really have to make sure like my zone work is like on point, because it was clear that I couldn't keep up with Rylan, and the pace that he was setting. He ended up breaking 17, I think. He was 16:59 for his 5K, which no one's broken 17 yet in a Deka Fit. I had a big PR. I was like 17:24, I think. But yeah, I think I think I was just a little too big. I think if I really want to maximize my potential in Deka Fit, I might lose 5 to 7 pounds of muscle that I'm kind of carrying around. But I am going to go for Deka Strong, Deka Mile, and Deka Fit at the World Championships. So I do have to keep on some of the muscle mass that I've kind of built up over the past months and years. But it'll be fun to try out all three.
All right, so here's the times here. So you had a 17:24 was your 5K.
And that was a big PR.
Yeah, Rylan was a 16:59. Mark Gaudet threw in a 16:51.
Oh, Dave really?
Yeah. Dave Collins, who nobody really had talked about, he was a 16:49. So he was flying.
Wow.
So I mean, there was some fast running, right? Like that's some good stuff. When you're talking Jack Bauer, he ended up in 10th place with a 31:47. Like a 31:47 anywhere else was podium.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, everyone leveled up and raised their game. And God, I mean, that pack from on the men's side from like two to what place was Jack?
10th.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 to 9, because was there a little gap in between 9th and 10th or no? Like how many guys were in between 30 and 31?
9.
6.
Between 30 and 31, sorry, 7. So from 3rd
That's
to
crazy.
9th
Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a 41 second from 3rd to 9th.
And it's only going to get faster. I mean, people are going to get better at these events. They're going to know just kind of how to race it and where to maximize kind of, where you want to take advantage of your strengths and things like that. And I'd never worked that hard. I'd never gone into some of the zones so fatigued, because typically after like the 3rd or 4th zone, I'm able to kind of put it on cruise control, and I'm basically just dialing back the runs and then attacking the station. So it was fun to really get pushed on the runs, but I did it so much harder. Like going into the assault bike, just knowing that I don't have really much energy left in my tank, but somehow I have to like find it and use it, because this is a station that really benefits me.
It was something to see, but again, you got to go into that. And I was thinking beforehand when I was watching, like Rylan's a biker, like he that's his background too. That's got to be, it makes it even difficult to catch him there.
I know.
Speaking of bikes, we can't not talk about bikes without talking about Ryan Corning.
Okay.
17
he did
17 seconds.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It's I don't know, like, is that right? Was it broken? Did somebody calibrate that thing?
I mean, he's a big, strong, powerful guy. If you put Matt Frazier on an assault bike, I'm sure he does 25 cals in 15 seconds. And yeah, he'll be fun to watch and race against in the Deka Strong. That's for sure.
Yeah. He definitely he's going to be tough to beat there, but just with that bike alone, it seems like the rest of the stations are mortal. And then that one it almost seems like it's malfunctioning under his weight. But so you're going to do all three. That's awesome, because I hadn't talked to too many people yet who are going to really push for all three. But I would think in your guys' case, like, that's too much of a payday not to give it a shot for all three.
Right. Rich really wanted to go for all three. I think he'll end up going in Deka Strong and Deka Fit. I don't think he'll end up making it in the mile unless he travels somewhere, and I don't think he plans on doing that. So I think Rylan and I are the only the only two that will go for all three. And it'll be interesting, because when I am focused on a Deka Strong, it's different training than Deka Fit. So to have to do all three in a 2-day span and making sure you're at your like peak potential in all three, it's a challenging thing to kind of put together, but it's also really fun. Like I don't think I've enjoyed training like as much as I have like recently. Just like training for all the different like hybrid events. It's like, even after High Rocks, it was nice to just drop that for a while and focus on like the Deka Fit stuff. And yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a big challenge in Atlantic City. But I'm looking forward to it.
So you don't miss crawling through the mud in the mountains?
Okay, so I do a little bit. Yeah. I watched that Kelowna race, and I'm not even joking. Like that Kelowna race really like sparked something in me and like made me want to come back and do some like Spartan racing next year. So the plan is to not be working at UPS for too long. But that way I can just like focus on training, traveling, doing more racing. So ideally I'd like to get back and do some more Spartan racing next year, while also still, focusing on hybrid, because I do a lot of mountainous training anyway. Like all of my runs are pretty much in the mountains all the time. So that fitness is there. I would just have to sharpen up a little bit for a Spartan race. And Ryland's proven that like you can do both, at least Spartan race and Deka. I think High Rocks is a little bit
Different
of a different animal. I'd like to think that Ryland could find a way to like push the sled. He's stronger than he looks for sure. But the pull would probably be.
Yeah.
I think the pull would be a struggle.
So I personally would like to see you get back into the Spartan stadiums. That's where
Dude, if they ever put anything towards it, like I'd be there in a heartbeat. It's hard to justify traveling and spending, X amount of dollars to go do it when there's really no spotlight on it at all. Like it's pretty much, I would just go for the enjoyment of it. And I think there's value in that for sure. I've been thinking about doing one, just simply because I think they're fun and they make me happy. But there's just like no spotlight on them. And that's unfortunate, because I think we've seen over the years just how fun and action packed they can be. I don't know why it just hasn't like taken off. I don't know.
And again, too, it's so much easier to do media at something like that than these mountain races. And again, the coverage is good for drawing attention to them. So it is interesting that they haven't put more into them. And we've talked too in the past about how some of these races are just so hard to get to, like how difficult it was to get to Kelowna, the big race in Big White. But these stadium races are in the city, so you can fly to them and take a taxi instead of having to drive 5 hours from the airport to get to the race.
And clearly they're still putting these events on without the elites showing up. So I don't know if it doesn't seem like it's a money thing. Like, I don't know. Like it obviously makes sense to, try to build that side of Spartan, just because it's accessible to most people. And like you said, Bethany, it's easy to put it like a production team and like film it. And
yeah,
why they haven't done it is honestly beyond me.
Well, if I think back and ask myself, what was the best Spartan live stream, right? The best Spartan event that was live streamed, it usually comes back to that AT&T Stadium one. And that's where, they had kind of the best signal, the best following, the best, like that. The ones in the mountains, right? They're great. They're awesome. I just don't think they're good viewing, especially when you're dealing with such shoddy signal.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I love that one they did with the AT&T, and hopefully they'll do some more.
They could do the Stadium World Championships here in Colorado.
Oh, that would be
at the Denver Broncos Stadium.
That would be. Is there a lot of athletes in Colorado?
Oh yeah.
One or two.
A few, one or two. Yeah. what was I going to say? I was going to say something about stadiums. Oh, that's like stadiums was hybrid racing before there was hybrid racing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like I remember when I would do them, like I did my first one in like, I think 2016, and then 17, 18, and 19, I really focused on the stadiums. And I was just like, this is the jam right here. Like running upstairs and doing like some functional fitness. Like that's what I'm about. So, stadium racing was hybrid racing before hybrid racing. And obviously now it's evolved into something else, but I think they had a good product there. And
I
yeah,
think they
let it go.
still do. I think it's one of their best products. It's a great thing. It's unique. It's fun. It's like Bethany says, it's accessible. I'm
And
sure it
it's
costs.
easier to train for too for most of the people who don't live near the mountains. Like this was the hardest thing that I find with I love mountain racing and they're a great experience, but it's impossible for me to properly train for. So stadiums, it's all the stuff that I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you go to Dallas where you need to put in like a mountain training block to get ready for it. You can get ready like doing lunges and running on flat ground.
Find an underground parking structure, just go up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So, well, hopefully they'll do it. I still would love to see Spartan one day do a series of, a beast, a sprint, a super, a stadium, and a Deka, and make that your series, and just come out with a winner. I think that would be very entertaining.
We talked about that, like myself and some other athletes, like just behind the scenes, chatting on the phone, whatever. I know a lot of top elite athletes would be super interested in doing that.
It'd be a riot. It'd be great fun to watch.
It'd be fun. It'd be like, okay, like, you have your Deka part where they have to get out of other guys have to get out of their comfort zone to come to like my territory.
Yep.
Okay. And now, a couple months later, I have to get ready for a Spartan Beast in Utah or wherever it is. Now I have to get out of my comfort zone and train for that. Like it'd be fun. Like as a person competing in it, like it would be fun and I think a way to keep training like just like fresh. Like you're not just constantly doing the same thing week after week, month after month. And I think that's really when burnout can happen. And I think I experienced that training for Spartan Race, and that's why I'm super thankful that there is a Deka Fit and there is a Hyrox, because I think it's really allowed me to keep my career going, because I sort of felt the love for OCR kind of starting to slip just before COVID hit. But I mean, that said, it's been a while since I've done a full Spartan season, and I think I miss racing like guys like Atkins, VJ. I just miss competing against those guys, and I think my window for competing at a high level is like I still have a few years left, but I don't want to look back and be like, man, I wish I would have done this or done that. So yeah, I think as much as Spartan race training isn't my favorite, I think I'm going to come back this year and dip my feet into it. I mean, I did slow this year, which was one race, but I think I'd like to take a crack at the series, even though I wouldn't look forward to a race in Big Bear or Utah. It would not be ideal.
Well, I'm sad to say I don't think they'll be back to Kelowna next year anyway, which is disappointing. But
really,
yeah, I just think that the attendance was not what they would like, and I think Bethany hit the nail on the head. It was very difficult to get to and very expensive for travel, and people just aren't.
Did they not know that going into it? Like, don't they know that, like, okay, like this might be a difficult race to get to, which means that there might not be a lot of participants. So like, then what was the reason? Was the reason just to put it in Canada to make it like like they can call it North America because they did Canada, US, and Mexico?
Probably. It was a beautiful venue, right? Like it was an amazing venue.
Well, and we don't know, like I heard rumors too that the venue might have thrown some money their way too. So if the venue itself was willing to sponsor the event, then they might have had a financial incentive.
That's why they kept it at Tahoe for so long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And same for Dubai. Right. Here's a check. Come to Dubai.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, if they want to do more, I think they need to do more analytics with location to an airport, like is there places available that people can stay, like all those things. I think they need to consider a little bit more, because that would definitely change the number of people.
And like, and we've seen in the past, like they'll call something like the Vegas race or the Boston Sprint, but it's never like in the city, but it's usually no more than like an hour.
Yeah.
Like outside of it. I don't know how far Kelowna was from like the.
Kelowna was only about an hour, but the problem is Kelowna only has a very small airport that very few airlines fly to. So you really probably had to fly into Vancouver, which is like 5 hours.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that'd be a pain.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think if they had that race in 2019, pre-COVID, it would have been a lot better because travel was cheaper. People were more, free with money as opposed to right now, and everything's so skyrocketed.
And we didn't need, like in Canada, we still require the vaccine to come into the country.
There's that too. Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
So that's probably you lost probably, maybe half of like participants simply based off like them not being vaccinated and being allowed into the country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hopefully soon. They have been changing stuff very recently, and hopefully getting a little bit better and stuff. So I really just got two more things for you. One, I did just notice today you have launched a training program.
I have. Yeah.
Moving right along. Okay. No.
No. So I officially launched trainmorehybrid.com. It's a platform for really anyone trying to get better at hybrid racing. If you want to do Spartan race or get better at your 5K, it's probably not the place for you. I really want to focus on getting people ready for an event that they have coming up. It's not like some generic thing where it's like, you want me to send you workouts to do to like keep you fit. Like, I want you to be like, hey man, I've got a Deka mile in 6 weeks. Like, let's put a plan together and let's work and let's do this thing. I've wanted to do this for a while. I've just been so freaking busy with work, training, family, like, the whole deal. But I've recently taken a temporary leave of absence from UPS. And it's kind of allowed me and give me the time to really sit down and, build a website and put all of this together and have the time to, put towards coaching clients and stuff. And the hope is that I can build it. It's not something I need to grow into, something crazy like overnight. But eventually I'd like it to be my sole source of income, that and just like competing and training, just because UPS was starting to really just run me into the ground. It was just a lot of physical activity going on, and it just made me kind of rethink if this is just the career for me. I could probably do it in like 10 years from now, just be like completely dead. Like, it's just a really physically demanding job. So I'm just kind of going through a time right now where I just want to rethink what the future holds for me. Not just as an athlete, but, as a provider for like my family. So yeah, like the coaching thing's going to be fun, and it's all going to, like I said, it's all going to be individualized. This isn't some, plan that, 20, 30 people can do. This is going to be like specific to you, what you have access to. And, I've had a few people already reach out, kind of asking if they need like access to the equipment. And I don't know, like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not hearing you, but it's like, if you want to get better at these events, like, you need access to the equipment. I understand that everyone can't have a home gym, but there are gyms out there that, like, for me, example, if I didn't have my home gym, I would drive as far as I needed to go to get, my Deka work done. And that's kind of the expectation, like, if you don't have access to a rower or a skier or an assault bike, like, there's a problem. Like, you're not going to be able to reach your full potential if you can't have access to those kind of things. But there are, we can use dumbbells for burpees or, really anything for lunges and box jumps. We can improvise to some degree, but you will need access to at least some of the equipment, preferably like the machines. And then we could pretty much the sky's the limit. Because my DECA, I'm very specific in my training. That's really the only way to be, right? Like you want to be specific to the event. So it's for all levels of fitness though. It really is. Like I'll take on a beginner or I'll take on an elite athlete who's trying to become a pro. I just want these people to take it serious. And if that means I get 20 clients, that's great. Like if there's only 20 people out there that want to take this serious, that's fine. If there's 50 or 100, that's great too. But I really just want, like I said, it doesn't matter your level of fitness. I just want you to take it serious, and because I take it serious, and I want you to get better, especially if I'm like investing my time to try to, get you a PR or whatever your goal is. So it'll be fun, man. I'm kind of opening myself up to this. This is something that I have coached before clients online for Spartan race early in my career, and I've also coached high school track and cross country, so I have experience with coaching. But if somebody wants the mentorship program where we offer, like we'll do Zoom calls, every 2 weeks or so where we can talk about things. That's something I've never done before, so it's kind of exciting to kind of enter this new chapter and see what happens.
That's awesome, man.
That was a long answer.
No, but that's great. That's good. That tells people what it's about. And if you really do want to supplement your income, you could probably make a good living selling used Spartan Trophy rams, because you seem to have too many of those anyway.
I got a second place one over here now that I'm definitely willing to give that one up for sure.
All right,
I got stopped at security for the first time with the Deka Ram, traveling back from Florida. They wouldn't let me take it through security. They made me go back to the line and check it, put it under the plane. I'd never had that happen. All the other ones I brought on the plane, threw it in the overhead bin. So I pay $45 for this second place freaking Ram. So pissed.
That's awesome.
But anyway.
So where can they get a hold of you for the training program?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me, Drop the Hammer on Instagram. We also created an Instagram for the website and the coaching platform. It's just Train More Hybrid. And if you want more details on the coaching, you can just go to trainmorehybrid.com.
So I got one last question for you, and this is it's just a quick question for you specifically. Personal prediction for Atlantic City.
Oh man. For which one? For which race?
It's your call, man.
I'll say Deka Fit, just because that's kind of the one that's the big one. Me first, Ryland second. I think, man, I don't know. I want to say Rich for third, but I think he's going through something right now, and he has to snap out of it. Like he had a pretty good race last weekend. He kind of cracked. He cracked midway through, and fell off a bit. But I still believe in Rich. He's too good of an athlete. He's too fast. He's too strong. I've trained with this guy, and I believe Rich. I believe Rich will show up and snag that third place spot. But it's going to be a dogfight. Like I'm expecting just to go to war with Ryland, and I made a few mistakes. Like if I could go back and do that race over again, I would. There's two things I would do. Sorry for the long response, but
no problem.
I wouldn't have let the gap. I would have let the gap stay between like 4 to 5 seconds rather than letting it get up to like 9 or 10. Because I noticed, like even as early as like sit-ups, which was zone 4, I was like, man, the gap. I'm just like a little bit. Like he's right there, but he was just a little bit too far for me. And I'm thinking in my head, he's already outrunning me. So like, where am I going to gain this? Am I going to have to do it all like on the assault bike? Like, is that what I got to do today? So I think I just wish I would have kept it a little bit closer. Nothing crazy, just within just a few seconds. And that would have allowed, I think, for me to not just absolutely crush myself on that assault bike and have a little bit of energy afterwards. But the second thing I would have done differently if I kept the strategy of kind of going conservative was after the assault bike where I was pretty blown up. Heart rate was pretty high, but mostly I just felt kind of like a noodle, like my legs and arms were just like, didn't really realize what they were doing after that. I'm sure you guys know that feeling.
Oh yeah.
But it goes away. If you can fight through it, it goes away after like one lap around. So if you can make it through that 250, you can flush it out and your running stride is like back to what it is. But I got out of it and just kind of really, I don't know if I just couldn't do it, but I just kind of settled. And when Rylan went around me, I just let him go. It wasn't like he came around me like super fast or anything. It was just like, I feel weird running right now. And like, I'll pick the pace up eventually. And I built that, I caught him up and then I let the gap get back to like 5 or 6 seconds again. And then it was ultimately too little too late there at the end. But he's going to bring it, man. I think we won't see any super fast times at the World Championships just because Yancey has told me that the layout probably will be mostly kind of how they did High Rocks. They're going to make it really conducive for filming. They probably won't have bleachers or anything like that, but it's probably not going to be a super fast course, but it will be like a spectator, like friendly kind of setup. But that matchup between Rylan and I is going to be crazy. And to me, like he took my records down, but you can't take away being a champion, right? So, he can have my records, but I'm coming for the world title.
It's a perfect way to finish, man.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right, Beth, take us on.
Thanks so much, Ryan, for joining us. And we will see you in a couple weeks at Atlantic City. So all the best with your training and you take it home at the World Championships.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How far of a commute, like a drive for her was that?
It's a 5-hour flight.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if she were to drive, how long would that take?
Probably 48 hours.
Sorry.
48 hours, something like that.
So I was closer.
Oh yeah,
than she
far
was.
and away. Yeah, it's funny. Just one sec. Everybody thinks that, we hear something in Canada, like when they had, it's in Montreal, the race is in Montreal. That's a close race for you guys. It's a 6.5-hour drive, and Tremblant adds another hour, so it's like 7.5 hours to drive there. So I mean,
I didn't realize that like Kelowna was actually easier to get to than I had anticipated. Had I realized that sooner, I might have shown up, but I didn't if I were to drive, it goes straight through Missoula, and that's like exactly halfway, and I have family there. So next time.
Yeah, I don't know that there will be a next time. Like,
it looked really pretty. I hope there is.
I don't think Spartan got the numbers that they wanted. So, but if for like Kelowna is, I mean, for you, if you're going to drive there, you might be you're the first person that said, that's not too bad to get to, because everybody else is like, oh my God, it's horrible because you can't. Kelowna has an airport, so you can fly right in, but it's a smaller airport, so not many places go there directly. So you probably have to go to Vancouver, and Vancouver's like a 5-hour drive or 4-hour drive or whatever it is. And then even the venue is another hour from Kelowna, that's pretty normal for Spartan-esque races, but I don't know.
I did see that originally, which is why I was like, nope, not even going to try. And then like when I looked more into it after it was too late, I was like, oh, it's like 7.5 hours to Missoula. I have family there, and then it's another 7.5 hours to Kelowna. I should have just went and like done a stopover.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it's like for me when I go to a race in, say, like Alabama or Tennessee or something like that. It's the same kind of deal. People laugh because they're surprised when I tell them to get across Ontario from one side to the other takes longer than to drive from Toronto to Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really big.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of space, and that's why we get frustrated because we don't have a lot of local races, right? Like you would think in the Toronto area, I think whatever we got like 6 million, 7 million people to call upon. And we get in the Toronto area, we get 2 Spartans a year, 1 Tough Mudder, and that's about it.
What are the numbers when they do happen? Are they good?
The Tough Mudder is probably one of the highest grossing numbers that they have. And then the Spartan ones, I don't know, they're still really good. Like Blue Mountain got good numbers, and so the one is a smaller one. It's just a super and sprint weekend, and that's a couple hours. I would maybe an hour outside of Toronto. I'd say it's one of the smaller races, so it probably gets mediocre numbers. But when they go to Blue Mountain, like they're getting good numbers. So who knows? I don't know. We
Should
just
do more.
get left out in the cold.
Yeah, but you have these other cool races that we don't have that I don't know if I'll ever get to try. That RX1 that you've talked about so much.
Yeah, but that's in Quebec. That's 6 hours away.
I didn't know where it was.
Yeah, it's in Quebec. It might as well be in like Pennsylvania for us. Like it's about the same kind of deal. It's just we don't have to do border crossing, which does help. But and it is worth it. You should so do that. Do you know how excited they would be if you came up and did that?
It looks like a lot of like honestly of all the things, I like that there's like almost little metcons in that. I wish we had a race that did that where there was running and then like a little metcon running.
Yeah, it's really kind of like CrossFit light. Like I mean, the part I don't like is there is even like some Olympic barbell lifting, and that's not really my favorite deal. But yeah, the other stuff, I mean, like you're into huge tire drags and flips and sleds and then toes to bar and pull-ups, and the pro division is really heavy. Like they get handstand walks and muscle ups, and
That's
I think
crazy.
the guys in the last one, I think their cleans, like it ended up like 5 sets of 5 cleans were like 170 pounds. So I mean, like the weight gets up there for what you would think is not CrossFit, but
Yeah. For people who are doing a running race too.
yeah. So the last one had it was 4K running on the last one, and it was kind of up a fairly, I don't want to call it super technical, mildly technical trail up and down, 2K up, 2K back down, and then into the workout zones, and it's very cool. It's a good race.
Just turn this light on. It's getting dark.
That's all right. So you're back in action. How was it? Like you one, it was kind of a little quiet that you're going. A few of us knew and stuff, but wasn't like you didn't advertise it huge. You're getting under the
No.
radar.
I didn't like, I wasn't 100% sure I was going. I knew I wanted to. I think I messaged Yancy a week before. I still hadn't like signed up for it. I was looking at flights and they were reasonable in compared to like the Chicago one I had been looking at where it's just ridiculous. So I messaged him because I tried to go on the Deka website and the heats were gated. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, like, was there something I was supposed to do to get into like this gated heat? I was like, do I need like, I don't know. I didn't know if I was allowed to be in it. I was like, if I'm allowed in it, like I'm gonna make the trip, I want to go. But if I can't be in the gated heat, I'm probably not gonna make the trip. He's like, oh no, I don't even know why it still says gated. I meant to take that down. So
I think honestly, you shouldn't have said anything. You should have just shown up and ran in like the 7th wave or something like that. It just ran later on, not told anybody. You just came in, and that'd be hilarious.
I would have gotten much better sleep, that's for sure. That would have been nice. Could have slept in a little bit.
So had you been like, I mean, obviously you've been working out and stuff. I mean that you had that unfortunate pregnancy thing get in the way for a little while, but you've been working out and stuff. But were you trained for this? Because you couldn't have had a ton of time to really focus in.
I'm not trained for it. I mean, like I'm still like I'm working out, yes. But like in terms of at least so training's personal and it's all in perspective. Yeah. So for me, no, I don't feel trained. And I don't know when I'm going to feel trained again. Like obviously things have changed a lot. So like in terms of volume, like one, I hadn't been doing as much volume while I was pregnant to begin with. So I would need to take it slow to build back up into that. But even if I wanted to jump into it, like babies are hard. They take a lot of time. So like there's really not a lot of time to do that either, unless you're like willing to let them sit there and cry, and I'm not. So
just close the door. It's great.
Yeah.
At this point, they can't do much, right? They can just sit there and cry. It's not like they're going to run away or do anything. There's no
I know,
danger.
but like, there's that
Let 'em
whole
go.
psychology part. Like, I don't want to ruin her. I don't like. Does she think like I'm abandoning her if I don't come? Like, I don't want to start that at like 2 months old.
Yeah, they never remember. It's fine. It's good. I got tons of parenting tips. Just most of them are ignore them, and going like that. And they won't leave. They can't. They're still here now. They come back. It's crazy.
And you're their food.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the safety net.
So you haven't been trained. You're not training. It isn't that just.
I am training. Like I'm still like I'm working out.
Yeah.
I guess is maybe the like if you want to get technical with it. Like I've been working out 100%, just not to like the extent that maybe I once was.
But isn't that just kind of a little bit terrifying for the other women that were in that race? Like, isn't that that's
Well, maybe it's comforting to hear that like I don't know if I'm gonna get the opportunity to train like I want to at any time in the near future.
so
I'll do my best, but it's a lot, like it's a really big learning curve. It's like learning schedules and what works and what doesn't, and what might keep her happy for a little bit longer than something else. And even when I think I learned something, like I'm wrong the next day.
well, they're going to change. She's going to switch it up on you, throw you curveball left and right. Just when you think 4 a.m. is your friend and I can train now, she's going to say, no, you can't.
No, now I'm gonna be up at that time.
4 a.m. is now my time. You find a different one.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different tomorrow.
And so far right now, like technically if I got up at that time and worked out, like she is sleeping and like my husband is still home at that time. So I could in theory train at that time, but I'm tired and sleep means a lot. So I don't.
It's recovery.
Yeah.
So you decided to go out there. You like you said, you just kind of went out, not on a whim, but like in the fact, like I'm gonna go and I want to compete. And you were, how were you feeling going into it? Did you feel confident? Deka is not an intimidating thing. It's not like you got to worry about finishing it. But did you feel like you could be competitive? Because it was a good field.
I felt like I could be competitive, but I didn't like I haven't even done a run through of a Deka Fit, so like I wasn't sure. My intention was I wanted one of the top 12 times. Like I wanted to. This is the last chance to get one, and I wanted to get one. I just didn't know. I didn't know how quick the 12th place time was currently, and I had no idea where I was at in terms of like what time I could put down. So I know that's what I wanted. I felt like in terms of like a head-to-head race, like I think I have like I can race tactic my way through races. But in terms of like it doesn't matter if what place I come in if I don't get the time. So that was kind of more what I was going for. And I didn't know if I was capable of the time quite yet.
Well, I've been watching your race for some time, and isn't your race tactic just go out like a bat out of hell and hope for the best?
That is race tactic number 1. And but I also
Which
kind of like,
personally is my favorite. I love that one.
try and like manage like after the manage the effort after that. But yeah, no, I do like that specifically in high rocks because I want to have the opportunity to stop on the sleds if I want to and not worry about like, oh, I just lost so much ground. So I feel like if I can get a little bit ahead, then I can rest a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in be winning till you're not.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100% definitely go out hard, but also like racing wise, if I feel like I have a cushion, then I'll ease up quite a bit. And I kind of did that in this race, and that was what I learned, definitely a mistake because I like bled time compared to my competitors in the back half. So
Tara was pulling.
Yeah, it's so short, like you can't back off. It doesn't matter how much cushion you think you have.
Yeah, because I noticed that thing. Like you did, watching it, you did look fairly comfortable, and then all of a sudden by the end, it's like, holy crap! Like Tara really pulled at the end.
Yeah,
and she herself said she didn't have the best finish either. Like she didn't really do burpees as well as she felt she could have. So yeah, there's definitely more in the tank there. So.
And I wasn't even paying attention because Vivian had been the one like right behind me the whole time. So Like that's who I was kind of watching. Like I had no idea that Tara was closing so hard.
Yeah, she's fit. She's good to go.
Yeah.
She's going to be ready for Atlantic City. I look forward to you guys having a very good. I assume you are going. You wanted the top 12 time. You got your 12 time, so you are. I assume you are going.
I do plan on going. No trip is planned yet, but I have every intention of going.
All right. So you did the race, and this was your first Deka. How did it feel through the thing? Like, did anything surprise you? Like, you come out, you hit the lunges. I assume the lunges are fairly straightforward for you, not too bad at all. Then you get on the rower, and the rower is usually, I guess, the first spot where you can make a mistake. So what kind of pace did you go at, and had you planned your pace, or were you just going with how you felt?
I did not plan my pace. I did go by how I felt, which is for this actually ended up being sub 2 minutes per 500. When I'm in high rocks, it's above that. One, it's more than halfway through the race in high rocks, and it's double the distance. So I did go based off of feel on this, and like just making sure I did nice long pulls, and I felt comfortable staying under 2 minutes. I was like, all right, so just stay at that pace. It should be okay. Just don't start going crazy with it, because you do have to run still quite a bit after. I would say the step overs were what taxed my legs the most.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I would assume with all your CrossFit experience that those would have felt, pretty at home.
No, those were definitely what made my legs like the most taxed, and probably where I felt the most tired through the whole race was in that station. It's like station number 3.
3, yeah.
But what I think is fortunate for me, at least, in that, since I think that one is the hardest station for me, I felt completely recovered doing the sit-ups in the next station.
Yeah. Those again, that's, to me, they're a strong point for me too, and there's something that doesn't really hit me very hard, but they are a bit of an awkward motion the first 2 or 3 reps when you like.
Oh, I'm not good at it. It just like my heart rate came down really really low in comparison to what I felt like I was trying to put in the step overs.
Yeah, because the first time I had tried it was when I did the Deka Fit, and I'm like, okay, this is an awkward motion, but at the same time, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm good. As long as you got a good strong core, you're going to be okay. But it's definitely different.
You can only go so fast. So I'm very impressed if you can get your heart rate high on that.
Yeah. And then you went from there, you got the ski erg. And again, so you just went by how you felt on the pace for that. And this is so familiar to you, right? Like the row or the ski, this is very familiar stuff to you. So even though you hadn't done a Deka before, this is old hack, and you're so used to pacing yourselves on it. So what kind of pace did you put on that?
I would say I don't remember exactly. That one was probably over 2 minutes, just because again, I thought I had more of a cushion than I actually did. And I like to use a ski erg, but I like to use it for comfortable training. I don't like to get uncomfortable on the ski erg. So I didn't. Maybe I have to in the future, but for this one I did not. It takes a lot of effort for me to pull under 2 minutes on that though. So I have to kind of decide whether or not that's worth it.
Yeah, and exactly. Do you spend it there, or do you save it for the big moves?
For the run after, where I think personally I can make up more seconds just running a little bit faster by not being so fatigued from trying to go hard on the ski erg.
Yeah, it's weird because I'll be perfect. When I think of you, I don't think of you as this fast runner. Like, I know you're a good runner, but I associate you more with the strength and the endurance and the muscular endurance and stuff. But where are you here? You were where does it say your time for your run? We're looking at it. 13th overall, a 19:09 for your 5K pace, for your 5K of running. So 19:09, which was the second fastest, compared to Laura Cummings had an 18:55.
She's quick too.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's good, and she's improving constantly. Like every race I've seen her, she gets a little bit better each time, just incrementally better.
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that she actually goes to a high school that like our schools kind of versed each other. And like track and track really wasn't my sport. I just kind of did it like in between sports with my friends. But I definitely recognize her name, and I think she was like really good, and I was not. So I don't think I ever actually raced her. But I definitely recognize her name.
And I think she went to Olympic trials or something like that. Like,
Yeah, she's fast.
she's really
But if I asked some of my friends who were good, like they would probably like be like, yeah, I know that name.
yeah. So you got some good running in there, and then you the bike. The bike, and we've said this before, the race kind of starts at the ski erg, and then the bike is where it goes to when the bike is where it gets hard, where it goes to hell. So how was your bike?
So before they started, I think Yancey was talking about he was gonna have like bikes set up at different heights.
Yeah.
He said it'd be like 3 through 8. So when I got into the station, I was like trying to quickly scan for that small seat for a 3 because I got short legs and I couldn't find one. So I jumped on the closest one, which was a 5. So it's not that much higher,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still hard for me to put like power into that. So I didn't go super fast on it, but at the same time, I didn't blow up because I couldn't go super fast on it. I think the best strategy would be to blow up on it, honestly. I just didn't have the leverage to physically do that. So we'll see if the seat gets lowered, if I'm willing to go to that place when I actually have the capability to blow up. Like, will I do it? Will I mentally be willing to do it? I don't know.
I think it's on the bike there. I think that's where Vivian tried to make her move and ended up, she just put too much into it. And that's what ended up costing her.
It's a gamble. It's definitely a gamble because you could go into a hole on it, but you can gain a lot of seconds on there if you're willing to go into a hole.
Oh, yeah. I personally I like the bike. I think it's great. I'm glad it's there. Like a little more power stuff. Take away all that goddamn running. It's useless. So you got to you did the wall balls over, and they're kind of like the farmer carry. They're there, they are what they are, Then you go to the tank. Had you ever pushed one of those things before?
Yeah, they had them. They had them at the Spartan Games.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And one of the gyms by us, I don't go to it, but one of the gyms by us is an affiliate, so they have one, and I've been there before. Like I've done the Deka Strong there before. Not this year, so I don't have a time for that right now. But so I have used it just like very sparingly, like maybe 3 times total.
What do you think of it as as a tool?
I think it's a great training tool. I don't love it for competition, but like if I could own one, I would. Like, I think it's a great training tool. It's a quiet sled. Like you can still practice your sled work, and I wouldn't be driving my neighbors nuts. Like I own a sled, but I don't use it because I don't want to. I don't want to disturb my neighbors because they're loud.
Disturbing neighbors, destroy the driveway.
Yeah, I had gotten a text from one of my neighbors a couple weeks back. Anthony was doing like some sort of clean in the garage, and she messaged me. She's like, are you guys like doing some sort of demolition in your house, or like is your husband working out or something? I was like, oh yeah, I think he's working out in the garage. She's like, well, all of our picture frames are shaking. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll go talk to him.
What was he doing? What workout? Because it sounds like a good workout.
He was just doing cleans, like probably an EMOM of cleans, like 1 clean a minute, but like he was dropping it from his shoulders, and I didn't realize that it was shaking their house. So I don't want to add the sled to that.
Just tell them to fix their house. Clearly it's their issue, not yours.
Yeah. I'll let them know.
We get some neighbors. I don't know if I told this on before, but our block is almost exactly a half mile. It's almost exactly 800 meters. So a lot of times we'll open the garage door and then we'll do, interval repeats, and then maybe obstacles or workouts in the garage, tire flips, whatever the case may be. And there's an older couple that lives just on the corner, and we were working out for a while, and then probably 40 minutes, and then we ran by, and he's like, you were 30 seconds faster last lap.
He's timing you.
Yeah. I'm like,
they're paying attention more than you realize. They're definitely paying attention.
They were, but he could have at least offered some water. Clearly I was struggling.
Yeah.
I needed the help, right?
Like if I'm 30 seconds slower, I need something to drink. Give me some
That's right.
electrolytes. Yeah. Yeah. So I do have a sled. I don't use it. If I had a tank, I would definitely use it.
There you go. Whoever supplies those tank, Lauren needs a tank.
I would love one.
Give her a
Whoever
freaking tank.
Torque Fitness, I think.
Yes. Yes. I don't. I like them. You know, it's before everyone was saying that it just goes the speed it goes, and there's no time to be made up there. I don't agree.
I
Like
think there is time to be made up.
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to learn how to pace
There's
it.
definitely time to be made up because I was a lot slower than everybody else. So they made up time. Like there's definitely time to be made up.
Well, I swear, the first time I did it at a Deka Strong, I was like almost 3 minutes because I'm like, everybody told me don't push too hard because it'll only go as fast as it'll go. And that took forever. And then when I went and did Deka Fit, I'm like, well, screw it. I don't care. I'm pushing this thing. And I was like 2:15. So I made up 45 seconds on one spot after running all the time. I'm like, there's freaking tons of time to make up on this thing. Everybody's lying to me.
I also have a really hard time apparently going straight because I kept like almost running into Vivian. And I'm like, I'm so like, I don't know how, I'm so sorry. I can't steer this thing.
I think the slightest bit of like air pressure differential in the tires causes it to sway one way, or even like if they're just like
I appreciate you taking the blame off of me, but it
Yeah.
was probably me.
just got to get on the pole on the way back.
Yeah.
In Chicago, there we had that. It was Morgan Schultz, and I can't remember who else almost had this giant collision. It was going to be bad. Morgan luckily saw it coming and pulled it out of the way. But
The
So you
people there were kind enough that like the volunteers and like people running the event straightened it out so that we didn't hit each other and I didn't like squish her from behind or something.
all right, and then you get to your ram burpees, and I like those rams too. I think they're a good tool. But
I'm very excited to have one now. So
Yeah.
excited.
I told Kent the other day he should start selling them. He's got so many now. You know, can make a little side business.
I know, right? I'm curious if his are all different weights. I don't know if I'm weak or what, but I feel like mine's heavier than 22 pounds. I haven't weighed it yet. You can't tell because they spray painted around it. So I'll check and
It's probably a
I'll-
33. They probably do a 33 for first place and then 22s for the other ones.
I have to weigh it to find out exactly, but it feels heavier than 22 pounds.
Yeah.
I hope it's a 33. That'd be great.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you finished it. You got through. Your time was insane. You broke Faye's record, which I don't know. Did you think that was going to happen going in 33:28? Well, four of you broke Faye's record.
Yeah, it's a lot of people going in to take it down.
How do you think that happened? Like, Faye's record had stood for a year, and then all of a sudden, bam, like four people. Is it just like that you guys went out at such a pace and you pulled each other along?
I really think that is what happened because I don't think like when Faye has done these, she's had somebody really pushing her. So like even as I said, like I had originally thought I could let up and then like quickly realized that no, I cannot. Like people are making up time. So I think like just it was a pack of four, just pulling each other along, getting through. I think like if I were racing that on my own, like if those three other girls weren't there, I wouldn't have gone as fast. I would like to say the same, vice versa. Like if they had been running alone.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think you guys at first I was like, holy crap! Like I was wondering if they had screwed up the measurement on the place because records were dropping like flies, and I was like, maybe they screwed up a measurement or something. But everybody I talked to like that has done a lot of them said no, everything was spot on, and
I have zero comparison, but
yeah, but like guys like Rich Ryan and everything, they're like, no, it was spot on. Everything was at the right distances and just like normal. So, and that is the one thing Deck has been really good. Not the one thing, but is one of the things Deck has been really good at is everything being consistent.
which is nice because you can count on those like qualifying times, like for the most part being with people who should qualify.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like it might not be perfect, but when I look at it and I see who's in it and I'm trying to look like, do I see someone that should have been there that isn't? And I'm not noticing that. Like I'm not seeing anyone that's, oh, this person, this man or this woman should have been in it and they're not. When it's compared to when High Rocks had theirs, there was like, well, Chris isn't in it and should be, and Rich Ryan wasn't in it and really should have been, and
Megita didn't get in, and
yeah, Megita didn't get in and stuff. So I mean, it's a bit different. I speaking like with High Rocks, I think have you seen their new qualifying standards?
I think from what I understand, it's the top 3 from each of the championships.
Yeah,
And
then
then what is it, the best 11 times besides that?
yeah, I think so. I think that's or best 11 or best 9.
Best 9. Oh yeah,
Do
I'd probably
15, yeah.
best 9 if they're still doing top 15.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's better, but I think it still has a ways to go. But
Yeah.
I mean, I have my theory on how to do it, but nobody seems to like it. So,
What was your theory?
well, I thought they should add an extra, uh, what do you call it, regional. So you'd have a North American, a UK, and a European one because the UK is so many people doing it.
Yeah,
You know,
it's very popular there.
like, so I thought one from each of there, and then just top 5 from each regional event. There's your 15.
Or maybe like if they're doing that, like give the US 2 of them because the US also has some good athletes, and if you give like Europe 2, now they're getting an automatic 6.
Yeah, yeah. I just consider UK and Europe different, and the people in UK will appreciate that.
They will. They will. I know that like with that we might lose some American competitors that deserve to be there.
So I was trying to think how many American competitors were in the last 15.
I think it was just over half, right?
Was it? Well, you had yourself,
Alondra,
Alundra, Rachel,
Rachel,
Chris, Tara,
Sarah.
Camilla.
Does Camilla count or is she Italian?
I think she counts as American. I think.
Okay.
So 6.
Yeah, I think that was it. I don't think we had any others.
Really, the way I said it's only one different.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna sell it. Someone's gonna buy it eventually.
Keep pushing. Maybe
Nobody-
Christian will listen.
I don't know. Mintra didn't. She's like, nah, I don't think so.
I don't like, I mean, I know who's in charge, but I don't actually know who ends up making the final decisions. Like I don't know who gets like put the stamp on it, like, yes, this is what we're doing.
I would think Christian, but you never know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know he's the owner or co-owner.
Yeah. But I think Mintra carries a lot of weight in that decision.
She does a lot. She's a hustler for sure.
So, so you've done that. Obviously, you're going to Worlds. How has the whole motherhood, pregnancy, and everything affected you? Like as far as, do you think? I think when Kent said when he became a dad, he all of a sudden his training became more purposeful and focused because he had to make better use of his time. He couldn't just, oh, I'll do this a little bit later. I'll do this now and later on. Have you had to refocus and kind of?
So I don't, and again, like I am a very new parent and I don't want to like put necessarily down like the fathers, but it's a very different role. Like if you're the mother versus if you're the father, like there's some things that only I can do for her. So like in terms of schedule wise, it's better now. So like now I'm adding in like pumping in addition to like breastfeeding, so that like I can have some help with feeding her. But it wasn't like that in the beginning, and for a while. So like if she was gonna eat, it was just me.
Yeah.
So that in terms of like setting aside a specific time and making sure it's purposeful, like I haven't quite figured out that schedule yet. So I don't have like a specific time, like this is my time, I'm gonna work out. Right now it's just okay, like I think I've done everything to make her as happy as she can possibly be. Like maybe she'll give me X amount of time and I'll go for it, and sometimes it works and I can get stuff done, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay.
And are you back to work and school and everything as well now too?
I just graduated like a week and a half ago, so I'm done. I do have to like pass my board, so I've graduated school. School's done. To be a nurse, you have to pass something called the NCLEX. So I have to wait for my transcript. Like it's very fresh. I have to wait for my transcript to get sent over, and then I can apply to test, and then I test, and then I can have my license. But yes, I am graduated, done. Very excited.
Awesome. And now
it
you
was
get to do a
super
much
difficult, to be honest, to finish out like with a newborn, but we did it.
Now you get to do a much more difficult job. Excellent. Congratulations.
Yes. Much more difficult job, but like I'm doing the job while I'm at the job versus like I'm constantly doing schoolwork. So I'm excited.
By the way, your husband sucks.
In which way?
Well, he's trying to make the rest of us look bad, right? Like doing this whole show up at the airport in the
I
suit,
just, yeah.
baby. And so like, what's up with that?
Like we started dating probably a little over 5 years ago, and from the first time he picked me up from the airport, he like came in a full suit with like multiple different signs. One of them was a mail order bride sign, so they weren't all sweet. But he's done that every time like he hasn't come with me on the trip. But yeah, he dressed Lily up this time too. This little like very frilly pink dress.
What, did you cry?
I had cried a lot that day, to be honest. I think I was already cried out. I had already cried a ton. It was just like the whole like travel there and back was like a complete fiasco. And I originally, based off of my flights, wasn't gonna get back that night, which like I scheduled my trip to make sure I wasn't gone for more than 24 hours. So when I realized that the flights were messed up enough that I wasn't going to get home, I was very upset. Made lots of phone calls and ended up home that night.
Was this your first time away from Lily?
Yeah, like for like the first time that I was gone from her for more than like 2 hours.
Was it rough on you?
It was tough. It was definitely, it was hard. And just like different things that like it's emotionally hard. And then if you want to think like athlete wise, like I didn't think I am very much like I want to breastfeed her for X amount of time. And if you go a certain amount of time without like pumping, then you're going to lose it. So like I was like on a schedule, making sure that like I was continuing so that I would like maintain supply. So like trying to figure that out. And so like now I'm like literally pumping on the plane next to these poor people next to me because I was in the middle of the seat for like 2 out of the 4 flights that I was on. And then like trying to make sure I did it before the race so that it's not like extra heavy weighing me down. So it's just lots of new things to kind of jump around. But like emotionally, it was hard to leave her. And then like I was a wreck once I thought I wasn't going to get home that night.
Did they look at you? Did they look at you weird when you just started pumping on the plane with no baby and the stuff, and you say, "Don't worry, I'm a really good athlete, honest."
No, nobody said anything to me, but and I tried to be as discreet as possible. I mean, how discreet can you be? Like when you can hear that or whatever noise it makes, like it's like a pulsing sound. And like I'm going to invest. I have not yet invested in like they have wearable ones now, so they're a little bit like more discreet. So I have ones that are like sticking out, so I couldn't really hide it.
Well, that's awesome. Good. Did you have to bring the RAM on the plane too then, or did you check the luggage?
I did. I had to bring, well, I didn't want to check it because again, that's extra time. I wanted every minute to like get back to them. So originally my flight, I had to go through one security gate. And this was the one that wasn't going to get me home in time. So I went through security. They stopped me. They did the whole like checking it through and then eventually let me go. But I made a bunch of calls and I switched to a different airline so that I could get home that night. So I had to leave security and go back through a different security. And that one didn't let me take the RAM. So they took it from me. It was just like one guy was definitely on a very much power trip, but like his co-manager was a little bit nicer. So it was a lot of back and forth. Like I had left because I was still trying to get an even earlier flight than the one that I had gotten, which is why I was like, I can't check it yet because I don't know what flight I'm on. So they held on to it for me. So when I went back, I was able to sweet talk the nicer one into letting me just bring it on the plane.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's still probably easier than the Savage X. So
yeah, I don't know how they get on the plane with that one.
I think you have to check them.
You would have to, because they weren't going to let me take the RAM on it because it's considered a weight and you're not allowed to bring a weight heavier than 5 pounds. I don't know if anybody else has ever had any trouble getting it.
No, yeah, some of them have. I can't remember if it was Kent or Dylan that I was talking to earlier, and they said they ended up having for the first time had to check it.
Yeah.
Kent, yep. So Kent had to check his.
Was it this specific event?
Yep.
They got the same security guard that I went through, I bet. They didn't go back for the nice guy.
That guy, he's going to be notorious. That one guy won't let us do this.
He was very much on a power trip. Like, I get like you're doing your job, that's fine, but just kind of the way he talked really down to me. Just the way he was talking, it was very much on a power trip.
Yeah, I mean those people that they have a hard job, no doubt about it. But
I was like very nice. Like, he told me no, and I was like, okay, I just like I don't want to check it yet because I don't know what plane I'm on. And then he like continued to not be super nice. But the other guy, he let me take it on the plane without actually saying I could take it on the plane because I think he didn't want to like contradict his coworker. But like he allowed it to happen without like saying it straight. So I brought it on the plane.
I may have told the story on here before, but I don't think I told you. So who knows? I'll repeat it. But a long time ago, this was actually right after 9/11. Probably 3 weeks later, I was flying up to the Northwest Territories for a camp job. And when we go to our jobs, a lot of times we just need to bring a pliers, level, and tape measure. Those are the 3 tools we need to bring. So I had them in my carry-on because we were going to fly right into the job site, go right to work. And I get there, and security is obviously very tight 3 weeks after 9/11. So he looks at my pliers and he's like, "You can't take these on the plane." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense because they are hard." And then actually one handle was sharpened for like prying and everything like that. I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. Okay, cool." Then he takes my tape measure and says, "You can't take this either." And I'm like, "Okay." And I started thinking, like, I'm like, I guess, yeah, it's pretty sharp and, cool. Okay, whatever. And I'm trying not to be, because this is tense times. And then he took my level, which is, I don't know if you know, a little 9-inch long torpedo level. It's made mostly of aluminum and plastic. It weighs like 3 ounces. It's nothing.
What was his reasoning for that?
I don't know. So that's when I got stupid. And I said, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, you can't have that on there." And I'm like, "What am I going to do with this?" I said, I could wail on somebody with this thing for a half an hour and they could just get up and walk away. I said, "I can do more damage with my belt than I can with this level." And he goes, "And your belt?"
I was about to say, did he take your belt after
He did.
that?
He took my belt. And I went, I just looked and went, "I deserve that."
That's great. That's a great story, actually.
Yeah. Luckily my pants were okay to stay on. But yeah, it was those guys got a lot of power, and you got to remember when you go in there.
Yeah, they do have the final say.
Yeah.
And it's fine that they have a lot of power. I just like I feel like they need to be mindful of like not everybody is going to talk back to them. Like, I wasn't going to talk back to him. Like, I was willing to do what he wanted. I just wanted to find out what flight I was getting on, because it did end up getting changed again. So I didn't want it to like end up on the wrong airplane.
Oh, there you go. Well, you made it, and you did, you got home and you got back to where you belong, and you got your RAM. So now you can do RAM burpees all day long.
Yeah.
So are you ready? What's the plan then for Atlantic City? Do you think you're going to get a chance to put in like a really good training block? Like, is Lauren in Atlantic City going to be like 10% better than Lauren West Palm was, or are you going to figure you're going to be riding?
That's going to be a surprise to me too, to be honest. I would love to be able to crack like another 30 seconds off of that. I think for the top 4 that finished, I think any one of us could potentially take that much time off. It's just like whether or not you're able to put the training in, and then also like race brain, like if you like put it all together on the day. Like there were some hiccups for sure, like on my end, and I'm sure other athletes also had some hiccups. So it's just like, do you have a clean race? And it's different than like clean OCR, but like, do you have a clean race going through? Because like those seconds matter, like they are a big deal.
How was your judging? Did you have any issues with the judging?
No issues with the judging at all. I'll be honest, I didn't study exactly the event as well as I should have going into it. So I was trying to memorize like the amount of reps that I'm supposed to do everywhere. And like which station came next, which it's nice that it's all in order.
Yeah.
But you have to go to like the next station that comes up is actually before the previous station. So I have to remember like when I go around the first time, like, okay, the entrance for this one is here. And I kind of sort of like went a little bit past like one of the stations, but like not so much that it was like atrocious. But there's just like little things that could happen on any day that I would need to clean up.
And I do think you're right. I think any of the top four could reel off a really good day. But I think inadvertently, by doing so well, you may have put these other women on the path to an incredibly tough training block.
I know, and I'm not going to be able to jump on that training block.
They're going to be ready. And which I think, honestly, from a spectator's standpoint, is fantastic because it's just going to be an even better race. Like that one was great to watch. This Atlantic City better.
I was like trying to think about, and I might be missing somebody, but I was trying to think about like who could win like the event. I think there's at least 6 girls that could finish first, which is crazy to me. Like I had been talking to somebody else about this because that means that 3 of the girls that I think can win won't even be on the podium. And I think they have the potential to win the whole thing.
And that is insane, isn't it? Like that it can be that. Let's take a look and we'll just go through who is going to be there.
But I think, yeah, there's at least 6 that could take first place.
Okay, so we have Lauren Weeks, Tara Jackson, Bridget Brown, Vivian Tafuto, Alandra Greenlee, Chris Rogloski, Alyssa Hawley, Cassandra Carroll, Alex Walker, Laura Cummings, Shannon Payne, and Miranda Kilplinski. And that's obviously not including Corinna Coffin. So I guess even her time wasn't there anyway. But so of those, like I think like Alandra Greenlee is going to be very dangerous. Chris Rogloski and Alyssa Hawley. Like,
yeah,
any one of these women, almost any one of them could pop off a win, and you'd be a little surprised by some, but at the same time go, well, yeah, they're a badass, so they had their day.
Which like that just is mind blowing to me that it's so close that like people that I think deserve the win like won't even get on that podium.
Yeah. Like you could see again, like I said, somebody like Alyssa Hawley, who is, an absolute beast, could come 9th. And I'm not.
She could come 9th, but she could win it.
She could win.
Like you don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like someone like that could win or come 9th. Like it's again, High Rocks was like that too, right? Where Chris Rogloski came from not being on the list to winning the whole damn thing.
I think like in terms of like right now when I'm looking at it and the depth of it, I think there's like closer times of the women than there are the men. Like I think there's like pretty much 2 outliers in the men that will be battling it out, where there's like a huge group of women that like there's not going to be room on the track for us.
No. And like I said, it will come down to who has the day, who just shows up in the right shape and the right mindset and is really too willing to
doesn't make mistakes. Like you can't afford to make a mistake on that day.
No, it's awesome. Did you, like, I know you didn't get a chance to stick around, but have you watched any of the relay, the doubles?
I have watched I watched the ones that you posted from Chicago, and they look incredibly fun. Like I want to do one.
Having done it, it's been one of the most fun races ever. I'm like, so you want to do one? So I called dibs. So Lord.
I want to do one. I want a baton.
All right, cool.
I think those are cool.
I
want to race with a baton. Like that sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was great. I mean, I don't know that I'd ever done it before because I never did any relay. And I mean, I did very little track and field as a kid, and I definitely didn't do any of the relays. So I'd never run with a baton before. So that was kind of interesting.
That's very clever to add that in. Like that's a novelty that like so many people will want to be able to experience again that they've had before. Very clever to add that in.
Yeah, and it's a cool trophy. Like the Ram is a cool trophy. The baton's a cool trophy. I'm really impressed with their choices of both.
Yeah,
Um,
that's by far the best trophy I've ever gotten from anything.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I told them what they should do is for the age group people is just don't give them away because you can't give everybody a Ability Ram. They're too expensive. But just tell them, hey, we can have one painted up and you can buy it because you've earned it and you can buy it at whatever cost or whatever the
I
case
think
may be.
that's smart. I bet you a lot of people would buy it.
If I got one, I totally would buy it.
Yeah.
100%. I'd be like, yeah, wrap it up. Let's go.
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually.
That's what I
Make
do.
some- Yeah, they should jump on that because I bet more people would buy it than wouldn't.
Yeah, I would think. I know anybody who I've mentioned it to would be like, yeah, I would be all over that. I would totally, if you win the age group one, I would totally buy one. So Yancey, because you do listen to this, get on it. Yancey and JP, you guys can set that up. You'll actually make money from it.
That's smart. But yeah, by far the coolest trophy I've ever gotten.
All right.
Very
Well,
excited for that one.
now you and I are going to have to win a baton, so then you'll have that one too. So
I'd like a baton. Those look fun.
yeah,
I
and
got lots of neighbor kids around. I'm sure they do little races with me.
So back to High Rock soon as well.
I would like to. So I looked into the fall season, and again it comes a lot down to travel. Like the two races in the middle are just they're way too expensive to go to. So that's Chicago and Dallas, which leaves the outliers, which is New York and LA, that are more feasible in terms of like flights and just like living situation to get to. So the only problem is New York is soon, and like as I said, like my volume is not nearly where it's been. So it'll be a bit harder to do a high rocks because I haven't been training to the volume that I think I would normally train to compete, like at least compete well at a high rocks.
And you got to get one in before the U.S. Championship.
Yeah, that's new. That was a new email because originally I thought anybody could go into the U.S. Championships. So it'll be either New York or LA. I mean, potentially both, but probably just one.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't know. I like the idea of the U.S. or North America, whatever it is. I like the idea of it being open.
Me too, because there are some people that like are busy and might not get to one.
Yeah. You could isolate some great athletes that just can't get to the races.
Because there are like this is championship season for a lot of other sports, and like maybe they just can't make it work.
Definitely, it is difficult, and we all know travel is really tough right now and expensive, very expensive. Are you going to jump back in the Spartan bandwagon?
I want to. Those are actually, and I've said it before. Like, I'm not like they're not the ones I perform the best at, but I think they're the ones I have the most fun with. So yes, I want to. It's just kind of, I think like the next race is Blue Mountain. I don't foresee that happening. I would love for it to happen because like I wasn't even good enough to be on a tier, but I was part of the development team, which gave me a like a season pass that I didn't even get to use because I've been pregnant the whole time. So I like want to figure out how to get to something to maybe allow me to qualify for like one of those again. So because I would use it next year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That's my incentive to try and make Blue Mountain work, but like I'm probably not going to be there.
You should come to Blue. This is a 50-minute drive from my house. It's the place to be. And actually, have you ever been? You didn't make it out for OCRWC when I was here, did you?
No.
Blue Mountain is one of the most amazing venues ever. Like it's fantastic. The village is just booming while the race is going on. So everybody's watching. There's tons of crowds.
I don't know what city it's in. What city is Blue Mountain in?
It's very close to called Collingwood.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's probably about an hour and a half, kind of north, slightly west of Toronto.
Okay.
So you'd fly into Toronto and then you'd drive out to Blue.
Okay. How far from Toronto is Blue?
From the airport, you're probably about an hour and 20 minutes.
I mean, that's kind of on par for.
Yeah. But
other
the thing
ones.
with Blue Mountain though is there are so many hotels and Collingwood right beside Collingwood's like 3 minutes away. So you have all your, restaurants, and you can pick up stuff and get everything you need. And it's such a tourist town. There's so many hotels and Airbnbs and all that stuff that it's very, very accessible. And it's absolutely a beautiful place.
I'm still gonna say most likely not gonna happen, but it's not
Good sales
not on
pitch.
the
Too.
radar.
They're a great sales pitch too. Town of Collingwood owes me money.
Yeah. It's not on the radar. I would love to be able to like scrounge one of those season passes again, because I would put it to use next year. It just was not feasible this year. Like I was willing to do some races this year, but like ones where I could fall was just outside of my comfort zone. And like I've fallen in a Spartan race many times. So when I can't see my feet and I'm running, I'm probably gonna fall even more.
All right. I've got it figured out. I've got a plan. So here's what you do. You take your pass, right? And you register for every remaining Spartan race, right? Then when you don't go, you defer all of those to 2023.
Does that work that way?
I don't know. I just thought of it.
And then just do this.
I bet you it would slip through. Try it with one and see what happens.
And even like the one that I could have volunteered at this year and like gotten like a lot of like maybe passes from volunteering at, like I literally went into labor the day of the Utah race. So that wasn't an option either. Hi, buddy.
All right. Well, Lauren, thank you very much for spending some time with us. And it was great seeing
Sorry,
you.
I missed you, Bethany. Yeah.
Yes, we miss Bethany. You know what? She's got that whole family thing. Families wreck your athleticism. So there you go. Look behind you.
Hi. Come here, Lily.
You guys done?
Almost. Yeah.
Enough that she should make her cameo.
Yeah. Hey.
Well,
This
she's
is
wet.
Lily. Yeah.
Aw,
She's gonna be a big girl. She's over 10 pounds now.
there you go.
Probably like 10 and a half.
Is she out there doing deadlifts yet?
She didn't, not quite. I can't even get her to use like her arms for push-ups quite yet, but we're working on it.
Give it time. Give it time. She's
Give
doing
her
those
time.
doing those knee push-ups, right?
She does a lot of waves, like hands in the air, but that's about the most I'm getting out of the arms. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you so much, Lily, for letting us borrow for a little while.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. And can't wait to see you on the next one.